Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so I'd open it up for questions.
Is it Lubbock?
Yes, Evan.
Mr. Lubbock, if I understand correctly, you are under a letter contract with the city that consists of 4 phases of work. And have the first 3 been completed, the site visit and then the scope of work and the working plan phase, those all are completed? Okay. And then a question for Tom.
Yes, sir.
In the budget that you had for this letter contract, I presume you've got funded phase 4, which is the RPR or the construction management
Correct.
part of the work?
Yes.
Okay. So then a question, if I may, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, continue.
From Mr. Lubbock. I had no idea we had, number 1, a problem, number 2, had a problem that appears to be as large as it is. And I see in the packet that we have a proposal or quote from a firm to do the proposed work to correct what you pointed out to the tune of $46,000. Have you done a cost estimate on this work?
I've done bits and pieces, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to review the bids that have come in for the last bit of work. So I don't have one specifically to speak to that amount. I did some for putting the extra roofing system on and those in pieces and stuff, and I haven't actually done a cost estimate for.
You understand my question?
Yes.
Can the work that's proposed be done for $46,000? I would love it if it could. But.
Yeah. And I believe, aren't there 2 proposals?
That's correct. 2 were.
You need to speak into the microphone, Tom.
The city solicited 3 quotes from contractors licensed to do public works in the state of Idaho. One was deemed non-responsive because the contracting firm was non-responsive. And then we had a second submittal of $59,000 and some change, and then the low quote at $46,000.
And those quotes were based upon the design and the scope of work that was put together by Reliant Engineering?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Other questions?
I think we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here, and what you've explained makes sense to a person that has no idea about engineering, but I think we have to do something, and this appears to be the least expensive yet qualified bid to do something. So.
One of the things we're running into is there's a time element to get this thing fixed before the season opens up.
Right.
And so it's kind of, and that's one of the reasons it was brought to us quickly in order to handle it. Wayne?
There's a question for Tom.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
When were we first aware that we had these kind of problems going on?
October of last fall.
Last fall.
Correct.
Okay. I don't mean this comment to be critical. It just seems that perhaps this could have been brought to us, so we've been made aware of it, as opposed to suddenly it's an emergency.
Yes, sir.
But I understand that getting Evan to get everything together and all that took time too. So,
Absolutely.
But last fall was the first we really noticed that we had this problem.
Yes, and I would just like to comment that when, in the pictures you've seen this evening, those are after the bad spots have been attacked, so to speak. The paint's been knocked off them. Facility staff did notice some anomalies with cracking, paint starting to peel, but not in the condition that you're seeing here tonight. That's after the engineers have been up and picking, poking. We've never seen anything on the ground. The paint had some coverage, but no, it was a complete surprise.
Because I was sitting here thinking that, gosh, if it looked even 2/3 that bad last summer, we should have probably started looking at it. But I can understand what you're saying is started peeling back the pieces, and the more we peeled, the worse it got. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly. And, Tom got a hold of us fairly soon after, and then we scheduled to come first we had to put a proposal together and do those things, and then we came over and did our site evaluation, and when we did that site evaluation, we then, at that point, went through and picked and probed and prodded every one of those joints so that we had an exact valuation. And if you were to look at the plans, you would see we've called out every little detail of what's going on at each joint and what needs to be done at every point. And so by the time we went through, evaluated everything, and yes, these pictures mostly were taken after we tore into everything to find the extent. In other words, what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to come with a proposal, get halfway into it,
Yep.
and so we really tried to do all of our homework up front. And so I think in fairness, there has been a lot of background work that has been done. Part of it is coming up with what is the solution and working through some of those kinds of things. So we've kind of gone ahead and done a lot of that, that groundwork so that you see the whole picture of what's being presented. And unfortunately, by the time we went through that process, but to get where we are with all that we have done, I think we pushed it through in a very, because it was the end of October, I think, when this all came up.
It's kind of like a homeowner knowing that he's got a little bit of rot in his roof, but he doesn't, I'm going to have to take a look at that. And as he starts peeling it back, next thing he knows, he's got a whole new roof.
Right.
So in light of my comments, I think you guys did an excellent job of getting this put together in the period of time that you have. And with that, I wanted to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation for funding to complete the Hamilton Lowe Aquatic Center roof repairs by Quality Construction, LLC, as they provided the lowest possible bid, and to go ahead and authorize staff to proceed with repair.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Wayne, a second by John to approve the recommended funding proposal and accept the lowest possible quote received from Quality Construction LLC, authorizing staff to proceed with the repair. Walter, you got a comment?
I may be going to say what Gary's getting ready to say, and I'll let him do it.
And that is that, if I could just run through the funding, when we put this together, as you know, you got an amended agenda on Friday because this was something that we saw that it was needed to be done as quickly as possible, so we didn't lose our window of time. Because this was unexpected, came up, we've tried over the past several years to put money away to take care of these issues at the pool, issues that come up all the time. It's an open structure. It's wet by nature, both in the pool and the structure itself. So we started to put money away. It's not funded all that well, about $6,000 a year for that. We've had some big expenses come through the last couple of years, over $250,000 in a replastering of the pool within the last 3 years. I think 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, excuse me. We've also redone the fiberglass slide, the lazy river feature. This year, the frog structure is due to be renovated or removed and replaced. It's an expensive structure to keep going, so we try to approach that and likely will step that up a little bit as it ages. However, the funding that we're proposing at this time is $6,000, which is the current level of accumulation that we have for the Hamilton Lowe repairs, and I've distributed a memo that has the line items there. Also, there were funds appropriated to remove and replace the floor in the Egan Youth Center, able to get some really good prices on asbestos abatement. So out of that fund, there is $13,000 that is remaining that will not be used, so we could tap that as well for a running total of $19,000. The last source of the funding that we're looking for is in buildings general government. $37,000 was put aside or appropriated in last year's budget to repair the sandstone in the library. That was a project that was, we had a contractor who is familiar with the project, great reputation, gave a quote for it, and that's what the budget was built upon. Recently, that contractor has withdrawn his interest in the project. Jay Lewis has been soliciting quotes from other craftsmen. Because there are no architectural specs on the project, he's unable to get any quotes that are even similar. So his proposal at this point is to retain $5,000 of that $37,000, which hopefully will be enough to retain an architect to develop those architectural specs for that project. Also, we've got the City Hall sandstone that's also proposed to be fixed. And that leaves a balance of $32,000 that we would not use in this fiscal year to conduct that work because we don't have any set bids for it. So that would give us a total of access to $51,000. The bid by Quality Constructors is $46,000. As is our practice, we would like to have approximately 10%, in this case maybe a little over, because as Walter indicated, there is a pretty good disparity between the two quotes, so it gives us a little bit of flexibility. And we would like the authorization to make those adjustments in the budget, and the council to authorize that $46,000 for the repairs by Quality Constructors, as well as change order contingency in the amount of $6,000 for a total of $52,000.
Does that leave you $1,000 short, Gary?
It shouldn't. I think it should be, well, I think you're right, Walter, now that you mention it. That should be $51,000, I'm sorry.
That's 51.
So $5,000 would be the contingency.
So you would like for that,
Apologize for that.
would you like for that to be included in the motion?
I would like that to be included in the motion.
I will accept that.
Okay. Is that okay with the seconder, John?
Yes.
Jim, you
Yeah, I don't mean to throw gasoline on this fire, but the Hamilton Indoor Recreation Center has similar roof treatments and beams. What's the situation there? Do we need to be thinking about that ahead of time before we, I mean, I've noticed that there's a lot more flashing on the beams over there, but they're still exposed, and the same situation exists with the wavy roof treatment.
Very good question, Jim. Currently, staff applies a varnish every 2 years to the exposed beams at the indoor rec center. They're in far better condition currently than the ones that have been left unprotected at the other structure. So we will be taking a close look at them this summer when we're scheduled to apply another coat of varnish. And the fellows get up there in the bucket truck, do their sanding, and apply 2 coats of varnish to those pieces. Does that help you out at all?
Somewhat. I was wondering maybe if we shouldn't be considering putting the Lexan treatment on those to protect those beams from water standing on them.
I would think that in the course of this project that's coming up on the swimming pool structure, we will be learning quite a bit and inspecting the other building and possibly making a recommendation. Sure. That's a possibility.
Be possible to save money by doing it ahead rather than
Exactly.
remediating the damage.
Correct.
Yeah?
That building, just as a note, lends itself to a different type of remediation than is on this building.
Okay.
Because most of the exposure is beyond the support structure, whereas a lot of the exposed material in this building is exposed above the support structure. So,
Okay, well, we have a motion by Wayne and a second by John, and that includes the memo that Gary gave us on where we're going to appropriate the funds from. That was approved by both the motioner and the second. Everybody clear on where we're going on this thing? Start with John.
Aye.
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 Okay, 5-0. We'll move forward with, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.